So I was asked a good question in the gym today, which is, what do I think is better? Resistance machines, so the weight machines, or the free weights, your dumbbells, kettlebells, things like that. And the answer to that is it depends on what your goal is and what your ability is. As a general rule, and this is quite general, I would say I would always prefer free weights. I think that generally the resistance machines are more useful if you're a complete beginner or if you're quite experienced and you want to lift super heavy. So if you're a complete beginner and you've not been in the gym before, you're in there by yourself, you don't know, you're not familiar with the patterns of movement or any of the exercises, then the weight machines can be quite good just to get you used to what the movements, should feel like without having to worry too much about anything else. So for beginners, definitely they're good to get you used to things. Also, where I think they can be good for more experienced people is, let's say you're in the gym and you want to lift super heavy on your shoulder press or whatever, but you've got no one there to spot you and perhaps you don't feel safe enough to do it with the free weights. So again, the machines can be useful for that. Also, maybe if you're more experienced and you're working on something for aesthetics, you want to really build a particular muscle in your legs, for example, then using the resistance machines can allow you to just isolate that particular muscle or muscle group and focus on that. So they are useful. Where I think free weights are more useful is because they work you harder. So let me explain what I mean by that. So let's say we're talking about a shoulder press. Now, if you're sitting doing it on the machine, you are sat down, you put your hands on the bar or the handholds, and you just need to push up. Okay, so that is the movement. What you're not having to do there is you're not having to stabilize your shoulders. You're not having to use your core. It's all just that particular muscle that the movement works. If you're doing the same movement with free weights, even just to get the weights up here, you're using all the stabilizing muscles in your shoulders to hold in there. When you push the weights up, you're obviously working the intended muscle group, but also all the stabilizing muscles around your shoulder girdle. If you're doing it from a standing position, you're also bracing your core to stop your ribs from sticking out. So you've got a lot more going on when you do an overhead press with free weights than when you do it with a weight machine. Similarly with the squat. So if we equate the squat with the seated leg press machine. So seated leg press and squat work similar muscles, but again with the seated leg press, you've got all that support with your back. You're not having to think about your core at all. You're just going to push with your legs. So again, useful if you want to go super heavy for whatever reason. With your squat, you probably find that you can't lift anywhere near as much as you can with your leg press. But the reason being, when you are squatting, whether you've got the weight on your back or you're holding it in front or down by your sides, again, you're engaging your core because you need to keep your back and your core in a good position during your squat. So there's a lot more going on in a squat than there is in a seated leg press. So for those reasons, I prefer my clients to use free weights where they can, because I think it is they're much more functional, much more useful. Most of the free weight exercises, you're going to be engaging your core and other muscle groups and supporting muscles, whereas using the weight machines tend to focus just more on one particular muscle. So I'm not saying I'm right, but those are my thoughts.